and several other African countries, all right? According to information, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, Nigeria, Cameroon have been seen from multiple videos that we're seeing online through open intelligence sources. They are fleeing from the Malian territory of Tinzaantin. Now, after relentless round-the-clock Geran drone strikes that was week-long, we're talking about Burkina Faso nationals, Malian nationals, Nigerian nationals, Nigerian nationals, Cameroonian nationals, Chadian nationals, carrying out illegal mining in the northern part of Mali. Now, all running from the same mining sites that have been funding the armed insurgents that have been destabilizing Mali. And here's the thing, this isn't just about gold, because a lot of people want to look at it like artisanal gold mining. Okay, they are trying to mine gold, they're trying to get some money. It is not about the money, all right? This is about choking the financial arteries of the Azawad Liberation Front terrorist sect. And the bigger picture is about who controls the resources of the Sahel. So now, just after a couple days where we saw the Malian armed forces, the ministers, they delivered the new variant of the Baraktar Akinci drone, which the Malians have just bought. Now you're going to put this new Baraktar Akinci drone together with the other 6 Baraktar Akinci drone that Mali already has before. So I don't know the number of new Akinci drone they are buying. And you have to put that together with the number of Geran drone. According to the information we have, it's a Shahid variant of drone. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been relentless pummeling of the FLA. Now, everything you've been seeing on the media, I am going to break it down for you today, including the strikes on the field hospital of the FLA. Just before the Western media will start reframing or misinforming you about what is currently going on, it is very, very important for me to bring you the development on the ground. All right. So let's get into it. This is not just about gold, it's about control. All right. And this is why the story of the Sahel is different. So today, we're going to break down 7 major dimensions of this story. From the Geran drone campaign of the Malian Armed Forces to the new Baraktar Akinci drone of the Malian Armed Forces, which is now going to be added to the Malian fleet. Now, there is a thing called gold for weapon. This is part of the doctrine, the logistical doctrine of the FLA. Now, this is the pipeline, all right? The historical pattern of how France has funded armed groups to plunder African resources. We'll also talk about it here. And does France just fund this group? Ladies and gentlemen, France does not just fund this group. It's a trade by barter relationship. You mine gold illegally, you deliver it through the different proxies of France. I'm talking about nation states. And it is through the French bases in those countries that the gold are going to be moved to the international markets. And in exchange for this gold, France gives them munition, they give them weapon, they give them Western intelligence capabilities. No wonder we have been seeing the FLA with Mistrals and Stingers. Did they just like the FLA so much that they were able to give them some of the most expensive weapon in their coffers? No. It is because of what I'm about to discuss right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us paint the picture perfectly for you. According to local sources, a drone strike attributed to the Russian African Corps hit a place in Tinzawantin. They call it Tin Ateyara, all right, in northern region of Mali, overnight, just days ago. Now, the strike hit an artisanal gold mining site, causing casualties among the FLA and their artisanal miners. Now, this strike hit the artisanal gold mining sites in this region, causing casualties, all right? According to information, they said some of the casualty victims were people from neighboring countries that were falling into the northern Malian territory to carry out mining operations. Some said Libya, some said Algeria, some said Mauritania. Regardless, all right, we are going to tell you why anybody found wanting in this type of environment is not better than the FLA terrorists. Let me break it down to you, all right? Because they were working on illegal mining sites now the gold they are mining belongs to Mali. It's a sovereign wealth of Mali. But who are you mining the gold for? And the people you are mining the gold for, what do they do with the gold? They get weapons. Now, what do they do with those weapons? Kill Malian civilians. So this is why this topic is very, very important, right? Now, after the Geran strike, according to information, there were additional drone strikes that were reported in the surrounding area. According to information, there was no civilian casualty that was confirmed after the additional drone strike. And later in this conversation, we're going to be showing you the essence of those additional drone strikes, even after the long-range Geran drones. Now, here is what happened as the aftermath of the whole strike. And this is what I find remarkable. A mass exodus of individuals from around the regions of Africa, all right? Multiple artisanal gold miners who had been operating under FLA controlled territories are packing up their bags and they are leaving. These are not soldiers. These are not the main FLA fighters. They are the ones that dig the ground and extract the gold. But they are diggers whose labor have been bankrolling the FLA war efforts. That is the main point here. Now, the FLA force reported seeing the Shahid 136 type of drone, what the Malian armed forces call Geran, over the northern Mali on the night of the 5th to 6th of 2026, July. That's just a few weeks ago. And already, Bellingcat has geolocated footage confirming these kamikaze drones are operational already in Mali. And on multiple occasions, the Geran have been sent on combat mission in Mali. So the message is clear, ladies and gentlemen. The government of Mali has decided that the gold fields that have been financing insurgency in Mali to harm Malian civilians can no longer be treated as civilian space. The warning have been sent before the airstrike. Leave. So the miners themselves, they are aware of this. So anybody caught lacking in this type of situation is complicit. And when you're complicit in this type of situation, the whole story is off the book. Now, what do you think about that? A lot of people are asking questions about civilian casualty. And that's why I'm bringing this conversation to you. And we will get to that. But first, let us talk about what else was hit. Now, the second information of today, this is where the Geran strategy becomes a game changer for Mali. All right? Because reports indicate that earlier in the week, drone strikes successfully knocked out medical facilities of the FLA. It was used by both FLA and JNIM in the Tinzawantin theater of operation. This is not incidental. This is a doctrine of the FLA. You see, for years, one of the biggest advantage the FLA had in the Sahel, it is the medical evacuation chain. Okay? They had an hospital in Algeria, in the Bogbaji Muta region. They had an hospital in Libya. But they had an operational field hospital. And this is the first line of action in resuscitation and rehabilitation of their wounded fighters. According to information, a fighter gets wounded, They are stabilized at the field clinic, then moved south, sometimes across the border into Libya or Niger Republic, then back to Libya. Within days, the fighter is back in action. The French military, during the decade-long Operation Barkhane, never meaningfully disrupted this medical infrastructure. In fact, according to some intelligence analysts, they said the French forces were aware of this military stock, of these hospitals. Because at the time, the French forces did not allow the Malian forces to get to some particular territories that were mineral rich. So, ladies and gentlemen, now with persistent drone surveillance and the ability to strike with precision, the Geran drone can loiter, identify where the wounded are, and eliminate those facilities. Now, the calculation for every FLA fighter changes when they know that getting hit doesn't just mean evacuating the place. It means that the evacuation point itself becomes a target. Now, a lot of people will ask me the question, can the Geran drone carry out an offensive strike mission with equal surveillance? If you understand the meaning of surveillance, you definitely know that the modern type of Geran drones can carry out both surveillance and offensive strike mission. It's a sort of suicide mission. It's not a type of surveillance where you bring back the warhead. No, it locates the target. There are some like the Geran 4 and the Geran 5. They can find the target and they can autonomously, when they get to their terminal phase, they can autonomously destroy the targets without communication with the command control. They just need to identify and have a comparison with what they were sent to destroy. But this particular type of drone, from the control center, they can actually see what the drone is saying. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the product of this strike from Mali. A lot of people are asking questions if Mali can continue to sustain this high level use of the Geran drone. A lot of people are saying it's too expensive. But the number of drones of the Geran series, Shahid 136 that we are seeing in Mali, only begs one question. How much of this drone does Mali have as we speak? Because according to information, Mali is shooting more than 5 of these drones in 24 hours. So calculate by the number of times they've been using this drone. And what does this make the Malian military? It makes them one of the most capable military in West Africa as we speak. Anybody can tell me what other military in West Africa is using the Geran drone as we speak? According to information, this is what distinguished the current Malian drone campaign from the previous approach. It is not just about killing the enemy fighters. It's about dismantling the logistical skeletal framework that keeps them in the field. And I think this is what a lot of Western analysts are missing. They are counting bodies, but they're not counting the collapse of the medical ecosystem, the medical support system. They're not counting that. So the question then becomes, how does striking the FLA illegal mining operation affect their broader war effort that is being supported by France? Is France's failing economy coming back up so much so that they can continuously fund a propaganda war and an active, direct war against the state of Mali, when pensioners in France can no longer get the benefits of their hard work and dedication to the nation of France? This is a big question. So, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is straightforward. When you take away the funding of the FLA, you take away the war completely. It's just a matter of how long can the FLA keep up. Because for every drone that lands in Tinzawantin, that lands in Tessalit, on artisanal mining points, you've been able to take away a significant amount of financial logistics that go into the war effort of the FLA. Now, the FLA operational capability is not funded by taxation or foreign aid in the traditional sense. It is funded by the FLA-controlled territory like Tessalit, Tinzawantin, and possibly some part of central Kidal right now. But the Malians have full area control of this region. Now, artisanal miners extract the gold. FLA takes a cut. According to the report we are getting, they say FLA takes 30 to 40% tax from the artisanal gold mining operation. And that gold is then traded for weapon, fuel, vehicles, communication equipment, and salaries for the FLA fighters. So when the Malian Armed Forces and the Russian African Corps systematically target these gold mining sites, and more importantly, make them too dangerous for miners to work, they are not just stopping gold extraction from their country illegally. They are collapsing the FLA entire procurement chain. Because without the gold, there is no procurement. Because those things don't come for free. Now, the funny aspect of the whole thing is, some of these miners were not even ideologically aligned with the FLA. They are economic migrants from Burkina Faso, from Chad, from Cameroon, from different parts of West Africa. In fact, if you watch the video, you can see some Nigerians speaking the Hausa language inside the video. They were calling on ECOWAS to come to their rescue. So you are calling on ECOWAS to come to your rescue while you are carrying out a illegal mining operation? I don't understand. So what does ECOWAS stand for? Why are they calling on ECOWAS, even if what they are doing is illegal? That's not the question for now, all right? According to the information we have, they have been doing this for a long time. Now, they might be there because of economic reason, but their labor, willingly or unwillingly, was fueling an insurgency in Mali that was taking out a lot of civilians. So if you want to say they are complicit or not, that is a question for everybody to answer independently. By driving them out, the drone campaign achieves two objectives. It denies the FLA of its primary revenue stream, and it removes the civilian buffer that the armed groups often hide behind. Now, this is the kinetic theater of operation that matters, not just the front line, but the financial rear. Because it is this financial rear that allowed the FLA to procure some weapons recently, like the Puma APC, like the BTR 80, like the Stringers, like the Mistrials, like those gun trucks, like those 4x4. This is the financial rear that has been able to help the FLA. So when you see the FLA trying to take Anefis, launching an attack on Anefis, it is not just about the territory. It is about the resources that is present in the region of Anefis. Don't forget, France being the colonial masters of these Sahel countries, they have the original map of where every resources are embedded. So when you see terrorists spring up in a certain place and they are fighting, life and death situation, even if they are falling like flies, they continue to fight. It is because somebody is telling them that the fight in this particular region will actually be worth it at the end of the day. But thank God, the Malians crushed them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, credit to the Malian forces, because just as the Geran drone is reshaping the tactical landscape, reports have emerged that Mali has just received a new type, the latest model of the Bayraktar Kinchi combat drones. And this entirely changed the strike equation dramatically. Let me give you the numbers, family. Mali reportedly have 5 Bayraktar Akinci drone and about 20 Bayraktar TB2 drones. Now, the Akinci is manufactured by Bayraktar in Turkey, okay? It's a significant upgrade from the TB2 because it definitely can carry over 1,500 kilogram payload. It can stay airborne for over 24 hours. Now, get the game. It can stay for like 25 hours plus if it is not carrying the full payload. If it is carrying the full payload, it can stay for less than 24 hours. So it varies depending on the payload you are carrying on different combat mission. So now, if it's just for ISR, then it's a complete weapon that can change the battlefield calculus when you are using it for ISR capability. A lot of people that have seen the Russian African Corps military operation in Neono recently, you can see that there was a drone overhead that was giving them the precise location, that was giving them, intel on the movement of the FLA as they just continue to crush them away. So this is the situation, and this is the type of battlefield advantage that is being given to the Malian forces while they fight on the ground with these game-changing capabilities. Now, first, more airframes mean that the Malian Air Force can maintain continuous overwatch over multiple theaters of operation simultaneously. Now, this will be the 7th. I don't know, we can't state specifically the number of Bayraktar Akinci that Mali have just procured, but we know that one of the new series was very, very, obvious in the video that was presented by the farmer, right? Now, if it was one, it cannot be less than one. If it is more, good. If it is just one, that means the Bayraktar Akinci fleet of the Malian Armed Forces have now been upgraded to 7. This is a significant weapon. Sevare Mopti alone has different type of Bayraktar fleet from Sevare Mopti alone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it means that the Malians can have highs in the sky. No wonder they're striking the FLA relentlessly. They're taking back territories. A lot of footage you cannot see. The FLA posts the ones that they want you to see because the embarrassment is tolerable. There are some of the embarrassment due to the Malian harassment with the Geran or the Akinci drones that the FLA have the footage but they cannot post because it's embarrassing. So, ladies and gentlemen, secondly, the payload. Akinci carries heavier ammunition than TB2 drones. Now, that means that if the FLA cluster themselves together, if the Malian Armed Forces drop one of those Bayraktar Akinci, during the presentation, we were able to picture one of those TNTs. I think that TNT is almost the size of like 4 different people, grown-up adults put together. You know what that means. That is the size that you can see with the optics. But now, when we talk about the weight, it's something different. The craters are just the landmarks. Now, and I think this is underappreciated because the psychological impact is unprecedented. Every time Mali shoots any of this TNT, the terrorist knows that every seconds might be their last because they don't know if any minute is going to be the minute where the Bayraktar Akinci is locking and chirping. Now, because the problem is, these are stealth drones. Their colors disappear with the cloud. You can't even see them. You don't know they are upon you. The only moment you realize they are upon you is when they are already upon you. And that is the moment of regret we talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, the combined Geran Akinci fleet represents something the Sahel has never ever seen before. A government that can strike anywhere at any time with precision. This is not the French approach on the ground in Mali. This is not a French approach of convoys, an occasional speech, and area support, and plundering of resources. This is a persistent drone-led warfare, families. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, ladies and gentlemen. What does the stoppage of the FLA illegal gold mining operation mean for France? Unofficial reports have consistently indicated that the FLA have been trading gold with France in exchange for weapons and Western intelligence machinery support. This is not speculation coming from nowhere. In October 2025, the Alliance of Sahel States, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, they formally declared France as a state sponsor of terrorism. According to the AES government, France is providing intelligence, logistic support, arms, munition to armed groups operating in the territories of the Sahel. Now, the mechanism is not complicated. The FLA extract the gold from the northern Malian region. That gold moves through different networks, same through southern Libya, and some through other channels. And in return, France send weapon, communication gears, intelligence flow back to the insurgency. And this is why the insurgent group are calling for different, poverty-stricken environment. They are trying to recruit people from everywhere. It is because of this illegal mining. And you see that France continue to support them openly. It is because of the gold of Mali. Now, the mechanism is never ever complicated. The FLA takes the gold. Now, when you look at those people, you definitely know that the gold is not benefiting them, because some of them, when they get neutralized, if you look at their physical look, then you know that something is wrong somewhere. It is because when they mine the gold, they send it to France immediately. That is the deal. And in return, France gives them some weapon and gives them some sort of political support and motivational speech. Are you aware that it was through the French that the FLA were able to get to the UN Security Council, where they were making statements? It was through the influence of France. France is not just giving them military support, they are equally giving them political support. You can see that some of the FLA spokesperson, they are taking pictures right in Paris. You can see the Eiffel Tower just behind them. So this is the operation of France. It is not for influence or whatsoever. It's for stealing the resources of Africa. Let's call it what it is. So it is through this gold, right, that France sent communication gears like the satellite phone, intelligence flow back to the insurgency. So when Malian drones shut down the gold mines in Tinzawantin, you are not just stopping mining. You are breaking a link in a chain that connects the Sahel resources to France. Now, the gold that would have been traded for weapon is staying in the ground. And every time that gold stays in the ground, more Malian civilians get to stay alive. And I don't think it's a coincidence that France have been the most vocal international critic of the Malian drone procurement and its security partnership with Russia. Every kilogram of gold that stays unmined in the soil of Mali is just another transaction of gold for weapon to the insurgency that have just been stopped. How come you hear certain media, they are always campaigning for the terrorists? They are always trying to blackmail the Malians. How come when Diori Amani International Airport was attacked, they were trying to destroy the Tayak Songo drone? It is because of the operational capabilities of this weapon, ladies and gentlemen. And every time this weapon works perfectly and efficiently, they have just been able to stop France from getting another gold bars. All right. Now, let's get into some of the reports that we've been getting. And this is significant, that most of the illegal miners working for the FLA, they are falling back to southern Libya. Why they are falling back to southern Libya, we don't know. According to African intelligence, the FLA have woven a network spanning from southern Libya into Niger to guarantee their logistics. Now, their efforts to multiply different ways of logistical network to back up the conflict with the Malian army and the Russian African Corps, this logistic bridge allows the transit of petrol, equipment, recruitment of human resources, uniforms, which some of the times the Malian armed forces have always intercepted. Because don't forget, even if they bring the uniform from some of their, from of their colonial stooge that is around the AES territory, the weapons, everything, the uniform with the FLA badge that the Malian armed forces recently intercepted is still going to come into Malian territory. So no matter what they do, and they can't fly over the Malian airspace. So that is why some of these things don't even get to the terrorists sometimes. And sometimes it gets to them. So what we are witnessing is not the end of this mining operation. It is their displacement. The FLA is retreating to their rear base in southern Libya. And that part of Libya is called Fezzan. And that particular Fezzan is controlled by, Marshal Haftar Khalifa. That is the leader of Libya that is not popular, the one that is not supported, the one that is always, giving a thumbs up to the terrorist activities. So they regroup here, they rearm, they potentially resume operations from here, and they try to come back into Malian territory. But when the Malian territory becomes too hot, they run back to Fezzan in Libya. Now, this is why I keep saying, ladies and gentlemen, the Sahel conflict cannot be solved by one country alone. Southern Libya remains largely an ungoverned space. Khalifa faction controls parts of the southern Libyan territory, but a vast desert stretch are open territory for whoever has the vehicle, the fuel, the weapon. A lot of Nigerian security forces have captured most of these FLA terrorists in their deserts. All right. Now the miners fleeing to Zawantin today, they will become the miners in southern Algeria, and southern Libya tomorrow. They still extract gold. They still fund the same insurgency, just a different patch of the desert. Now the question is, will the Malian drone campaign allow them across the border? That is a much more complicated proposition. Because whatever comes out of Algeria as we speak, the Malians sees. I don't know if there is a sort of intelligence communication between Mali and Algeria as we speak, but according to the information we have, Algeria is aware of most of this strike that is currently brutalizing the FLA, even at the border of Algeria. So you have to ask a question. Algeria sees this strike. Why are they not intercepting it? Why are they not doing anything? Remember, Algeria shot down the Malian Bayraktar Akinci drone at the Tinzawantin border. But now Algeria allows the strike to come in. Ladies and gentlemen, is there something we don't understand? We'll continue to make our research on that end, and as soon as we have a lead, we'll bring you the information. Now, that is not the only thing, all right? With regards to the mechanism, how exactly has France been funding the FLA? Let me break this down according to the AES government multiple investigative reports. The funding architecture operates through several channels. First, the pro-French neighboring countries. You know them, right? Where French military bases are still located. These bases reportedly serve as a transit point where training, arms, logistic support, and medical assistance are provided to armed groups and then cross into the Malian territory, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Remember, if you've listened to the speech of General Abdurrahmani Chiani, he spoke exclusively about this French military base. Now, the gold trade itself, gold extracted from some of this region that the FLA are disturbing the Malian forces, right? It is sold through intermediaries, often at a low price. According to information, the prices are below market prices. and it enters the international gold market. From there, the proceeds are used to purchase weapons, sometimes from Eastern European countries. All right? You know the Eastern European country they're trying to talk about. Ukraine. We have to be very, very clear with some of this information. All right? They say sometimes through other routes. So there are two countries that are actually pushing weapon. And lately, we have information that there is a third country. All right. Initially, it was France spearheading the whole resupply, training, and every other, intelligence support, political support. Then from France, it went to Ukraine because Ukraine is the proxy of the West right now to attack anybody on the planet. They use the proxy of Ukraine right now. To me, I don't even think at this point that Ukraine is what we can call a country right now. I can call Ukraine practically a failed state as we speak. No sovereignty, no nothing. Is now a can of worm that is being used by certain powers to inflict chaos all over the planet as we speak. The CJNG in Mexico, they currently pay their tribute to Ukraine for giving them some of the drone capability. So the more NATO fund Ukraine, the more this weapon, is being funneled to Africa and other places. Now, for those people that celebrate the victory of Ukraine, you might be complicit too, because some of this weapon that the European taxpayer money goes to is being sent to Africa, where it's being used to kill innocent civilians, sometimes women, sometimes children. So who knows? Now, you see, it didn't stop at that, all right? The intelligence support, according to the rope investigation documents, testimonies from Burkinabe military personnel who stated that French military operations in the Sahel, French forces will bar local African armies from entering certain areas. According to information, particularly mineral-rich zone, the suspicion, which I find credible, is that these zones are being protected so that extraction could continue uninterrupted. The AES have formally requested a United Nations Security Council meeting to present what they call irrefutable proof of France's support for terrorist activities in the Sahel. That request, as of today, has not been followed up. So, like I said, international justice has a color, and that color is not black. So, the next logistical question is, through what link has the FLA been sending gold to France, given that both are now directly allies? The chain, according to information we've gathered, runs through several nodes. Gold is extracted in northern Mali, Gao, Kidal, Tinzawantin, Tessalit. It is then moved either to the north in southern Libya, west through Mauritania, or south through some of the coastal countries where French sphere of influence and military base still exists till this day. From there, the gold enters the legitimate international gold market. Once gold is refined and stamped, its origin is especially very, very difficult to trace. This is the same problem that has plagued the conflict for a very long time. This is the same problem that has been affecting the Democratic Republic of Congo for decades. It is all about the resources of this nation. Now, the revenue from the sales then circles back to the FLA, not as the direct cash transfer, but as weapons, vehicles, satellite phones, encrypted communication, and intelligence. According to latest information that we hear, that now they are even giving them satellite information on the movement of troops. No wonder some of the logistic convoys just get ambushed from nowhere. Okay, now I want to be precise about something. The evidence for this pipeline, largely circumstantial and based on pattern of trade, testimony from military sources, and the documented presence of French intelligence operatives in the region, But the circumstantial case, in my view, is overwhelming. You see, when you follow the goat, you find the guns. And when you follow the gun, they lead you to the same external patron, and that is France. Ukraine at this point is a representative of France. All right? So the project has been there for a very, very long time. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me put this into historical context because this is not the first time, and I suspect it will not be the last, where France continues to fund terrorist organization so as to be able to plunder the resources of sovereign African states just to make them failed states so that they can continue to benefit. So you see all this beautiful Paris and all of that. The history of those beauty you are seeing, the money behind it is from blood. It's not from anywhere special. It's from blood. I'm just making you understand. Now, number one, 1990 to 1994, France harmed and trained the Hutu extremist regime and its militia. The Interahamwe mine. Even as they were preparing the genocide, French companies had significant interests in the Great Lakes region mineral wealth. And the support continued well past the point where the intentions of the regime were clear to the entire world. France was interested in mining in Rwanda between 1990 and 1994. While the genocide was going on, French companies were making themselves wealthier. Libya, March to October 2011. France led the NATO bombing campaign that destroyed Libyan states under the cover of protecting civilians. The result was the flooding of the entire Sahel with weapons, fighters, and chaos. Libyan oil and gold has been plundered by armed groups ever since, where those resources are sent directly to European nations and to certain American nations. And the very jihadist crisis France later claimed to be fighting in Mali was born directly from the Libyan intervention. Now, Chad, 1982 to 1990. France sustained the regime of Hissène Habré, a man whose security forces systematically tortured and killed an estimated 40,000 people because the regime guaranteed French access to uranium and oil in Chad. Central African Republic, 2003 to 2013. France backed successive regimes and armed factions during the civil wars in the Central African Republic, ensuring that French companies maintained privilege access to the Bakuma uranium deposit and the country's diamond field. Mali, between 2012 to 2022, for 10 years, France Operation Sahel and then Operation Bakin claimed to be fighting terrorism in that decade. Terrorism in the Sahel increased by 2,000%. I don't even know what that means. French forces barred Malian troops from entering certain mineral-rich zones. And within a year of France's expulsion, the Malian army, within a year of France's expulsion, the Malian army recaptured Kidal. Something the French military, with all its advanced capabilities, with all the Rafale Dassault fighter jets, never accomplished. And the pattern family is consistent across the continent. So, what I would say at this point is France must be stopped by every way, righteous and unrighteous, possible. Take it or leave it. This is just the only way. Righteous or unrighteous. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to draw the curtain for this morning. If you enjoy the breakdown, you can support us by hitting the like, share, and subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, So at this point, I bid you all farewell. Because if you don't hit the like button and ready to cry, you definitely know. And I want to thank everybody on the community that continues to support us. We appreciate you. I want to say thank you. But I want you to beware. I want you to be very, very conscious of a certain YouTuber. I'm going to mention him because what he sends out, for me, based on classification, it was toxic before. But at this point, I am now looking at something that is beyond toxic. I'm looking like somebody that is trying to help the West to build certain narrative against the Sahel. And that person is called Chris Nolan. If you've ever come across this guy, you have to be careful. Go and watch his last video. I mean, this is somebody that, if I know him personally, somebody is about to visit the hospital. I don't know why he does what he does. I don't know what he gains from it. Like, his latest video was like the Malian people were telling Assimi Goita to step down. He said because Assimi Goita is taking out the Malian civilians. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So thank you, families. I really appreciate you. And God bless you, man. Stay safe and stay dangerous. Today is Sunday. Whatever happens, I wish you all well. I'll see you later in the day.